Hi guys, it's SkintBoot here, and today what I'm going to be bringing you guys is a No Man's Sky video. Now, for today's video, I am not going to be doing a script like I usually would. This is going to be almost in the format of a This Week in No Man's Sky episode, but not about a great deal of things. I'm kind of doing an old school way of making videos where instead of spending hours writing and perfecting scripts, I'm instead just using pointers and improvisation to hopefully bring you content a little bit quicker and create a little less of a sort of scripted and prescribed feel to videos. But for the first video where I want to trial this style out, I thought it'd be right to talk about something which is going on a lot in the community at the moment, and it feels like history is kind of repeating itself because once again we're found talking about why Hello Games are silent, why we haven't heard anything from them, what can be going on, is this bad, is this good, and so much more. As I said, we have seen this before with the good old Say Hello movement back before Next dropped, and that at the time was a very popular thing. And even now, you know, nearly like fuck knows how long since it's been since Next, what, like borderline a year this summer, we are still kind of encountering the same problems. So today, because I feel like this is becoming a bigger issue than it should be, I want to talk a little bit about why this silence isn't necessarily a bad thing, but then also look into why it could be a bad thing, and generally just give my views on it and try and calm people down who are thinking the worst possible case scenario. So I want to start off by why this silence could in fact be good. And I don't mean good as in it's something that should be sought after, but rather something that could lead on to something better, or maybe just make a great deal of sense in the long term of things. So first and foremost, Hello Games not telling us anything and not saying anything and not even tweeting usually means that something big is cooking. This is a fairly piece of common knowledge in the community. If you are big on No Man's Sky, then you likely know that when Hello Games are especially quiet and they don't reveal anything other than their extremely basic roadmaps, we know that they're working on something huge. Prior to this radio silence, we of course had the Abyss update and Visions, which were fairly small updates, but Sean Murray and Hello Games still spoke about them. They still gave us a trailer and things like that, but that was something like a month and a bit wait in between updates. We're now going on, what, 3-4 months since the last update, so we know that something big is on its way. This is what we knew with Next, when Hello Games were especially silent towards the end of towards the beginning of the summer, should I say, where we just didn't know what the fuck was going on. We quite clearly just did not expect Next to be that huge, and we can see how huge it was because of how quiet they were about it. So when people go, Hello Games not talking means that they've given up, they've abandoned stuff, whatever, it's quite simply not the case. Again, link it back to the whole Say Hello thing before Next dropped. People were wondering why the fuck they weren't saying anything, and that's because they were working on arguably the most important update of No Man's Sky's history. This is almost definite to say that the reason why they're not talking is because they're working on something big, and we know that this is true from their really basic roadmap they did when the last 1.77 update, I think it was, dropped, where they said that they were working on major content additions to 2019. And obviously this isn't the best way to go about things. A lot of developers, even if they were working on something big, would at least give us like an updated kind of view. I'll get to this in a second, but I don't necessarily think that silence is the best way to deal with working on something huge. But again, we'll get onto that in just a second. Another reason why this radio silence and this kind of dry period of No Man's Sky is a good thing is because it allows us to play other games and enjoy other experiences before a No Man's Sky update drops. I know a lot of people right now are simply not playing No Man's Sky as much as they would have done because there has been no fresh content. I mean, who can blame them? I haven't played it in God knows how long, outside of recording or doing anything to do with YouTube, because I just don't find it that interesting at this present point in time. But that's not a bad thing, nor should that shock you. A lot of people right now are playing other games, as I said, you know, myself and a lot of my mates have been playing the PS4 a load more. We've been playing Modern Warfare Remastered, I've been playing a bit of NHL. You know, this isn't necessarily a problem because this is just how games work. No Man's Sky isn't the only game that exists, and yes, I know on the surface it might seem like I bang the fuck out of No Man's Sky, but really, I don't play it that much compared to a load of other people in the community. No Man's Sky being a bit dry and being something which you don't necessarily want to play every day isn't really a bad thing. In fact, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing at all, because it means that instead of you just grinding No Man's Sky constantly, you can play some new experiences, maybe even do something else that isn't play games. Maybe if you go and read a book or start a series or something like that, it allows you to kind of do something a little bit different and not just play the game which you've been playing for God knows how long. And finally, the biggest reason why this is a good thing, or maybe not even a good thing, maybe just an expected thing, is because it is Hello Games. You know, we sort of expected this, and it's how they have always been, and really this radio silence should not come as a surprise. I know that this kind of shouldn't exist after they said that they were going to talk more, and again, I'll get to that in a second, but we kind of knew that that wouldn't last forever. You can't really change how you act, you can't change your personality, and most importantly, you can't change how you develop games. One developer will likely always make games and talk about games in the exact same way, and as a community, I think that we should just respect that this is how Hello Games go about making their games. We have all gone through the darkest periods of No Man's Sky, especially launch, not knowing what was happening at all. We have been through radio silence periods multiple different times, and there's no reason why it won't happen again. I think you'd be a fool to assume that this would never happen again, and because of that, we kind of have to get used to it, if that sounds awful, but what I'm trying to say is that it shouldn't come as a shock. I think deep down we all knew that there would be a period of time where they aren't as talkative, and maybe this is a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. It's really up to how you interpret it, but what I'm trying to say is that this isn't anything new. So moving into the bad now, I want to talk about why this radio silence is just history repeating itself, and why a lot of people in the community are getting a little bit annoyed with how things are playing out. So first and foremost, obviously Hello Games not talking and not giving us any indication in 3 to 4 months is obviously quite frustrating. Not knowing where a game is heading causes a load of issues with speculation. For one, speculation runs rampant. People get their expectations up way too fucking high because they don't have any official information to go off. They start thinking it's going to be 2.0, or it's going to be lava planets, or it's going to be something that likely won't happen. But also, there is just a bit of anger from certain people. Maybe not anger, but mainly just frustration and being left in the dark. This goes with anything, really. If you're big on a TV show and they don't say what's happening with a new series, you're obviously going to be a little bit frustrated because you just don't know what's going on. This is just something which humans will always find annoying, and obviously in the context of No Man's Sky that a lot of us are passionate about, it is pretty damn frustrating. I do find it frustrating, but from a different perspective. I find it frustrating from a YouTube perspective where I can't talk about a lot. I have to result in, you know, making fairly heavy speculation videos or making videos that feel kind of similar to each other. But other people are simply frustrated because they want an update, or at least they want to know what this update is going to be about, or when it's dropping, or something like that. And realistically, who can blame them? That is kind of a basic requirement from a game development studio, to let their customers, the people that have bought their game, know what is going on and where their money is going. Maybe I'm asking too much, and maybe this is how Hello Games will always be, but this is why some people are getting a little bit frustrated at history repeating itself and things not really getting all that better. Next up is something which is kind of similar to that, and it's the fact that Hello Games have gone against their word of being more open and talking about stuff. So a few months ago they said, you know, hope you're enjoying the increased communication, we're going to try and be more transparent with you, let you know what's going going on and stuff like that. And for a while, that is what they did. They were very quick with updates like Abyss and Visions. They told us what was going on a few days before it dropped, and generally it was very refreshing and pleasant to have Hello Games just be straight up with us and not sit silent and, you know, abandoned for multiple different months. Right now, a simple tweet saying that something is nearly done or possibly even months away would solve this problem. Even if it is bad news, it is still news. It always baffles me how Sean Murray and Hello Games don't think that a simple tweet could solve so much. It could get people excited, or it could just keep people playing the game and maybe go away from these emotions, which could be negative, that they are slowly leaning towards. When someone says that they're going to do something and then over time they stop doing it, you have the right to be disappointed. And I think disappointment is the best word to sum up how we're all feeling at this present point in time. Maybe it links back to the whole too good to be true, we knew that this was going to come sort of thing. But when you are directly told by some people that you potentially admire that they're going to change for the better and, you know, do all this stuff which you expect, and then for them to stop doing it a few months down the line, it is of course quite disappointing and ultimately frustrating. And finally, something which I touched on is the YouTube side of things. The No Man's Sky YouTube community is stagnating, like properly stagnating. There are plenty of content creators that covered No Man's Sky religiously who are moving on or covering other games, you know, myself included. I mean, LPlays even has a fucking ASMR channel now. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but it's quite clear that this period of just nothingness is taking its toll on YouTube and creativity, and I think the community is becoming a little bit stale because of that. From the perspective of someone that kind of thrives off making news videos on No Man's Sky, it is extremely hard to keep consistent videos out with how little news there is to talk about. I kind of feel like, in a weird sort of way, I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it. Like, it's my duty to still make videos on No Man's Sky because that is usually what people sub to this channel for. But that is extremely fucking hard when there is absolutely zero to cover. And that is why I've started to make videos on other games, or at least record some stuff which I'm yet to finish, you know, do tutorials and do a bit kind of different videos. And I don't think that this is a bad thing necessarily, but from someone that enjoys making news videos and where the primary source of my analytics thrive off of, it's just a little bit hard to keep motivated and keep positive when all of my videos are either way too boring to make, way too similar, or are just really fucking pointless. I don't want to sound like an ungrateful twat, but YouTube is the part that suffers the most when there is this dry period of content, and I feel like a lot of people are thinking this but maybe don't want to say it. Let's just sum everything up, alright? We know that something big is cooking. We know that this update that's going to come out is going to be a medium to high tier update, perhaps on the size of something like 1.3. This is definitely not a next style update, I cannot say that. I don't think it's 2.0. I think it is going to be something large, but not insanely large that is going to change the game as much as next did. Otherwise, we would have heard of something or seen something by now if this update was on a lot smaller scale. Hello Games would have said something or would have just straight up fucking dropped the update. To reiterate what I said in multiple different times in different ways, No Man's Sky isn't the only game in the world. For all of you getting frustrated because you want to play the game but you're so bored of it because there's no updates, just play something else. You know, play another game until the update drops, or maybe even don't play games and start a book or start a series, watch a film, go to the gym or something. You know, your life doesn't have to revolve around No Man's Sky. That's what I'm trying to say. No Man's Sky isn't the be-all and end-all of my life, and I can live without it for a decent amount of time. If I didn't make YouTube videos on No Man's Sky, then I would probably find it not very difficult to not play it for long periods of time because I have a load of games, I have a load of books, I have a load of shit to watch. I can do stuff outside of No Man's Sky, and I think that's what a lot of people are ultimately forgetting. But ultimately, I want to end this ramble with one simple thing. We have had this before. We have had radio silence before. This isn't anything new. It's new in the fact that we didn't expect it, but this kind of practice is by no means something out of the blue. If we have done this before on multiple different occasions, in multiple different scenarios, then we can 100% deal with it again. We can 100% deal with it again. So guys, just keep faith, keep happy, keep optimistic, stuff is coming. Until then, as I said, busy yourself and just wait until the official word comes out, and I can't give you any other advice for that. But guys, that is just about all I have to say for this video. I just want to say thank you for taking this time out of your day to watch an extremely unprofessional ramble, but I hope you like this more relaxed style of videos. If you guys enjoyed the video, then please do feel free to leave a like on it, and if you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot, signing out.